It's the Social Media Super Summit with Beth Bridges, Ted R. Ruiz, and your keynote speaker, Frank J. Kenny.
She's been a good friend for years. I got to know Beth through Toastmasters years ago and then through time in the chamber. If you've seen the statistic from Beth that she has attended over 2,500 marketing, networking events in 11 years, I did the math last night. That means she's gone to a networking event every other day for 11 years. So that's brilliant, Beth. And also she's done a fabulous job. I think she's really been a tremendous role model for us in personal branding. She's known as the network motivator. She's published a beautiful book. I just am so stunned by, when you read this book, you're listening to Beth talk. Networking on Purpose is available on Amazon, and Beth has reached top-selling categories in 2 categories on Amazon. So just a great, great job. And it has led the Clovis Chamber of Commerce and Success to be noted as one of the top 100 social media-friendly chambers of commerce in the country. So remarkable job. Beth, please, we're happy to have her for one of her last presentations in her tenure at the Chamber of Commerce. So.
Yeah, it was May of 2013, and it came to me appropriately as a Twitter tweet that the Clovis Chamber was tagged in, that onlinemBApage.com had produced a list of the top 100 most social media friendly chambers of commerce in the United States. Now, you, as friends of the Clovis Chamber, take that rather matter-of-factly. Well, yes, of course you are. Thank you, we appreciate that very much. But here's the perspective on this. There are over 7,000 chambers of commerce in the United States with at least one paid staff person. And we were in the top 100. Not only did we not just squeak onto that list, we were number 43. Behind Atlanta, Georgia, and ahead of Stockton. Fantastic. We were just, it was validation of years of work, because I will tell you that we did not build this social media program overnight. And if you have started years ago, you are in a very, very good position. If you're just starting in your social media, do not be discouraged. It'll happen very quickly for you. And I realized at that point that it was the culmination for me of a number of years of social media work. And so if you'll bring up the PowerPoint. I had to do a little digging on my social media history. And I say 1995 AOL, but I remembered what it actually was in the beginning. Who remembers CompuServe? Oh my gosh, CompuServe. And Usenet groups, who remembers the Usenet groups? alt.net.doctor.who.tardis, right? Yeah, I knew there'd be one in the audience at least. 2005 on LinkedIn, it was June of 2005, LinkedIn, which when I first started with LinkedIn, I have to admit, connected with about 20 people that I knew on there, and then I thought, okay, now what? Woohoo. Just like your personal network, it takes a fair amount of people, it takes a fair amount of interaction. And so that sat there for a couple of years, and then about 2007, started building the LinkedIn because a lot more people were on there, and it's incremental. You know, you add 10 people and it adds 100 times the value, just like your personal network. And then in 2008, Facebook, and I entered into Twitter about a month after that, and I found a fun little website that shows when you were on Twitter, so just for those of you who like total accuracy, September 17th of 2008 So I've been on Twitter 2,013 days, which it seems like it's been around for so long, but it's only about 5.5 years. I've been on Twitter for 68% of its existence, which is interesting. It means Twitter's been around a long, long time, but I've been on Twitter, according to this, longer than 99.7% of all users who are on Twitter, which explains why when I got there at first, I thought, I don't get this either. There's nobody here. If you tweet in a forest and nobody's following you, did you tweet? So a long, long history of social media. And we've heard a great deal today about building and using social media to build your business. We've heard a great deal about video. And I have to tell you, did I not tell you that this was going to be amazing? Did I not tell so many of you how Frank Kenny has just opened up my brain? And I've been on social media and using it heavily for a number of years, and still, every time I see him, something just amazing opens up in another vista of incredible information. And Ted, who basically I said, Ted, Frank Kenny's gonna be in town. We're gonna do a social media super summit, and you're gonna be in it. And Ted said, okay. I said, because I need people to hear about video and how vital it is and how really important it is to building your business. So I'm just incredibly pleased that this has all come together, and I know that you've gotten incredible value talking about business and how to promote your business. But what I want to tell you now is how to build your personal brand. 3 keys to building your personal brand, because that's something that I've done. Did not set out to do that originally. But as I saw it happening, I realized that's what we were doing. We are going to talk about how to build a powerful personal brand for you using social media. Just 3 simple keys to it, and if this sounds a little familiar, it's because usually when something is extremely true, you are going to hear it in more than one way from more than one person. 3 ways to build your powerful personal brand. Business is personal, is business. Number 2, tell a story. And the 3rd key is to give value. And for those of you who have read my book, Networking on Purpose, you know that it takes networking and breaks it down into 5 parts. And the 5th and most important part in the end is to give value. Oh, that's amazing how it kind of works out for this. Amazing how that works out, that this is one of the most important things. Why is this important? How many of you are your business? Raise your hand if you or you're one of 2. Or you're one of 2 or 3 who are all family, right? Kirk is part of a family-owned business. You are your brand. You are your business. Now, Ted has a fantastic staff and a number of freelancers that he works with, but now that we've dragged him out in front of the camera instead of behind the camera, is Ted now personally not having his personal brand be part of his business brand? And for those of you who are employees, don't answer this question if you're sitting next to the boss. But is it not possible that someday you might go work somewhere else or want to expand or take on new challenges? Is that not possible? Would having a strong personal brand not be incredibly useful for that? I know we have some marketing students here from DeVry. You are your brand right now. You are the business. You're the whole thing. If you're a student and you're about to head out into the workforce for the first time, a powerful personal brand will be the most important part of the networking to find a job. I swear I did not look at Frank Kenny's presentation before he started today. But again, here's another clue that if you hear somebody's name or you see something over and over and over again, it must be important. Tom Peters. Which I remember now when I was researching for my presentation for you today, I had a serious business girl crush on Tom Peters way back in the day, because he was the man. And actually at one point he was the highest paid business consultant in the United States. But we talk about personal branding as if it's something completely new that social media created. Not true. In 1997, Fast Company magazine put it on the cover, The Brand Called You, and it was an extensive article written by Tom Peters that you personally are the brand. And the interesting thing is he wasn't almost starting with talking to small business owners or one-person businesses or people who are their own independent agent. He was talking about employees for corporations. And people thought it was crazy talk. You're a corporate drone, you're a cog in the wheel, you're sitting in a cubicle, you're a cubicle dweller. It is antithesis of Scott Adams, right? Dilbert, just sit down and shut up, eat your burrito. Do some code. It was the opposite. And yet it was embraced. He ended up writing a series of books. He meant to have it be 5, but he only finished 3. And if you've read a little bit of Tom Peters or seen him present in person, this is a high energy dude. Let me tell you, there is hand waving and pacing around and even a little bit of spitting. He did speak in Fresno. I cannot remember when or where it was. I do remember that he walked through the audience and waving and spitting and speaking. And I had a rock star moment because, you know, bing. I'm like, oh my God, Tom Peters. I'm not going to wash this hand for a week. This is awesome. This is amazing. But he never finished the series. But this is still available, the Brand U50, where he talks extensively about branding. And yes, 1997, there was social media, you know, AOL, we had AOL, chat rooms and all that. But he did not predict, did he not almost predict where we are now? And this was a great quote. This is out of a blog post that came off the New Yorker. If this is the only thing you take away, personal branding is the subtext of all social networking. When we are doing social networking, when we are using social media, when we are putting information out there, it is personal branding. The subtext of it. Absolutely. Now, this blog post, if you go to read this blog post, it's a little on the negative side. He seems to feel that what this means is that everything we do has to be just absolutely calculated, and people only judge you for what they see online, and that you have no real existence, which I disagree with. We're here in person, face-to-face, talking about online and social media. So I don't think we'll ever lose that personal touch, the face-to-face. You are not what you tweet as opposed to what he says. But he has a very, very good point, which is that, oh, I'm sorry, can't answer the phone right now. Which is that social media is your greatest, most powerful tool for branding yourself. So I want you to think about the different aspects of this. Tom Peters, really, creating this phrase, personal branding. It's about image maintenance. It is about leadership. Remember, Frank said 2% of people actually create content. 90% are lurking. What kind of a personal brand does a lurker have? Lurker brand, I suppose. It's brand management, though. The concepts that we are talking about here for your company apply for you. Whether it is a big corporation that you're part of, and you want to make sure that you do not become lost, or whether you are the one in your company who's out and representing it, or you are the company, these are vital. You are brand management. Personal branding is brand management. You want people to like what you're doing. You want to be appealing. You know, the selfie is the ultimate. It is the peak of personal branding. I don't do a lot of them because my arms are so short. Try to cultivate a lot of friends with long arms. So my tall friends now, you know, that's all I wanted was just, you know, you'd take great selfies. So how do we handle this? I like to take that quote that, you know, you are what you tweet, and take the positive side of it. The negative side is, as well, do we have to be calculating? It's the Delta flight to Dallas-Fort Worth. Do we need to be calculating about everything? You know, we don't have any personal lives. That's part of this New Yorker blog post. You know, we don't have any personal lives, and it's just, oh, so dismal. I like to take the positive side of this. That you take positive social pressure and you use this as an incredible tool for building your brand. But with that in mind, what are your options? Right? If everything is out there, if you are what you tweet, how is this going to work? You have several options. Don't write any of these down because I'm only going to recommend one of them. So if you started writing number one, just stop. Complete social media blackout. I'm not doing that Facebook thing. Look, you guys, my mom's on Facebook now. Yeah, I know, huh? Mostly so she could see what I was doing. Hi, Mom! So from now on, if you comment on my stuff or post pictures, it's got to be nice, because my mom's seeing it. So honestly, for most of us, a complete social media blackout is not an option. The other option is everything goes, hey man, this is me. You don't like it, you don't have to like me. Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. I would like to say that I am incredibly grateful that my college years were spent before social media. Who else feels that way? Oh, thank God we did not invent this sooner. And we laugh, but we have a recruiter in the audience who can tell you that recruiters will look at your social media to see if they do want to hire you. And it's tough. It's tough if you are starting out your career just now, because even if you decide to not put something on social media, hey, your friends have cameras. So it is a difficult thing, but everything does not go. I'm sorry, but it just is not going to work. You can use privacy settings, lists, groups to curate what you're putting out there. I will tell you that it's tedious and that you will forget. And if you think that you post something on Facebook and no one can ever see it, it is pixels on a screen. Anybody ever tried that mysterious button, usually up by the numbers, that says PRT-SCN? Do you know what PRT-SCN means? Print screen. Nothing that's on the computer is completely private. The fourth option is having a second profile. Meaning you've got one profile with your personal email and it's your personal self and it's just your friends and it's just your family. And then you have a second one that's maybe your work email. I don't recommend that for a couple of reasons. One, if Mark Zuckerberg is watching this, it is against the terms of service of Facebook. We want to respect the terms of service. It's supposed to be one person, one profile. If you absolutely have to, it can be an option. I will tell you, it's a little bit like trying to juggle two different sets of two lives. And it can be complicated, it can be difficult. So I recommend the only option is personal branding. And this means managing your personal profile as a business tool. Remember, business is personal, is business. Does this mean, by the way, that you become this guy, the relentless seller, right? Hey, if my business is personal, it's all about me, it's part of my business. I know a few people like this, they are not in this room. Every single post is buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And I'm like, I love you, but I don't want to buy your stuff. At least not right now, maybe later. Frank just spent a great deal of time and effort telling us that even on your business page, even your business page is not buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. But by golly, then it's not that for your personal page. On the other hand, you want to make sure that people know what you do. How many of you have family members who are like, what is it that you do? I got to tell you, my dad, I gave my mom and dad, a copy of the book. For all of those of you who wanted the proof, you were going to have to fight my mom for it. So she has the proof. My dad read the book, and he says, now I know what you do. I'm like, Dad, 11 years. You didn't know what I did. He said, well, I didn't know. Now, if he'd been on Facebook, he'd have known, because now my mom knows. So business is personal is business. The second part is tell a story. Sounds like a theme, doesn't it? If you are looking, I'm going to give you the answer right now. If you're looking for the one key takeaway from this morning, it is tell a story. Who knows what this is? Your bike. It's my bike, thank you. That's right, Kanina, good job. This is not just a bike. This is my bike. Actually, for those of you who would be able to see this very, very closely, you would know that this is not actually my bike, because my bike has green handlebar tape. And well, right now it has a different seat. The seat's on order, but it's going to be green as well. How does Kanina know this? She doesn't ride.
You share it on Facebook.
I share it on Facebook.
Bike ride.
That's right. You guys have seen the selfies. It's three of us in bike helmets, By the way, very attractive, let me tell you. Nothing like taking a picture of yourself in a bike helmet after about 30 miles. Why we always take the picture at the end, I have no idea now that I think about it. But this is part of my brand. What in the world does riding a bicycle, which, by the way, the bike has a name. It's cool. You got to have a name for your bike. It's the Electric Lime. Doesn't have anything in particular to do with my business or with what I do, but it's become part of my brand. Because would you rather hear a story about database entry or paperwork or something like that, which is a big part of, the day-to-day, or would you rather hear a story about riding the bike? Where did we go? How did we get up that hill? Why is it green? Because it's awesome. Now I want to bring it here to Ted's studio and see how much of it totally disappears. I realize now that it would just be completely almost the invisible bike. That's part of my story. What else do I do on the weekends? I run. Now, I'm not saying this to get my whole ego like, hey, everybody knows what my schedule is. But why? Because I post about it. I talk about it. It's part of my story now. All right, I'll tell you something deep that I did not intend about this, but here's something else to think about in personal branding. What does it tell you? What does it tell you something about me? Oh, I like to be healthy? That's right. I like to be active. You're getting closer. I like the color green. Yes, I do. Absolutely.
High energy.
High energy. That's exactly it. That is it. Because we'll ride on Saturday, we run on Sunday. That's how it works. High energy. What do people comment to me about on a great deal of the time? How do you fit it all in? How do you do all of this? And I will tell you from the beginning, I'm giving you guys some pretty deep psychology and secrets here. I hope you don't mind that. It was not done in a calculating way, but take this as a lesson and think about what would that say to your customers? Do you want your customers to think that, man, you can do it? I mean, if I can get out there and ride 40 miles, I can take care of your project. If I am willing to, 4 years now, 4 years we go out and run every Sunday. We've made it on New Year's Day, 4 years in a row. We don't care how hungover or tired anybody is. New Year's Day, running. Sometimes it's slower than others. What else does that say to you about somebody? The commitment, they have consistency, dedication, perseverance. So the story that I'm telling on the outside looks like it's about bikes and about running and that sort of stuff. But at a deeper level, it's telling you something about the kind of person and the way I do business. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. That's not my quote, but I can't remember who says that. Right? But the way you do anything is the way you do everything. All right, a couple more pop quizzes here. Do you know who this is? It's Callie. This is Ted's dog. She is fun and she's sweet. I mean, look at her. She's a Jack Russell and she's adorable. I will tell you, Ted, I think there needs to be more pictures of Callie.
She's our mascot, but we don't implement it enough.
She is the mascot and they do not implement it enough. And you think, well, what does that have to do with video?
Callie's a wonder dog.
She's a wonder dog.
Make anything happen.
She can make anything happen. He loves dogs. Dogs are active. What's the deeper message here? Fun. Caring. Because, you know, if you don't like dogs, come on. He loves animals. It extends into family. Loyalty. I mean, dogs are so loyal. It's telling a story. The higher level story is that he's got a cool dog who likes to be part of what's going on. The deeper level story is that this is someone who's committed and loyal and friendly and high energy and is great on video. Right? Because this is fun, but imagine, I can just picture her. Might be tough though. Jack Rustlers are like, zoom, zoom. Yeah. Now does anybody recognize this? This is Travis Huff. He owns Real Time Outsource. This is a guy who knows how to tell a story. And what he's done, he's got a social media company. He's also a bona fide like rock star. He's produced some albums, goes out and does concerts. What does that tell you about him?
High energy.
High energy.
Creative.
He's creative. Absolutely. What else does it tell you? If you knew what his music was like, I love the Geico commercial where he's poolside and he finally explains all those techno songs. Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants. It's awesome. Now I know what they're saying in all those songs. His music's techno. A lot of it has techno influences. What is techno? Where does it come from? The future, man. The future. In fact, the album was called Future versus Retro. What's social media? It's the future. I don't think he's done this deliberately or intentionally. I don't know. We may have to ask him now. But did he realize that this hobby, this incredible passion that he has, is also supporting his business? It's genius. It's brilliant. So here's what you need to do. You need to choose your stories, your personal stories. I would suggest 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Probably no less than 3, because if you only have 2 stories, you're going to get tired of the stories after a while. If you have 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 different stories, I'm not going to be able to keep them straight. So think about your personal stories. And I know some of you, so I can make some guesses as to what some of your personal stories are. And I will tell you that some of you are doing this well already, but some of you, most of us, could do a lot more of this. Kirk Boudreau owns an antique store. Well, it's not just an antique store. You have a pretty large antique business that now has a retail location. I'm going to make a guess that you like antiques. Oh. And what do you like about them?
The uniqueness of them.
The uniqueness.
The character that they represent, the quality, the craftsmanship, the cleanliness of them that we find, that we put on the floor.
Okay.
It talks about us.
They tell stories, don't they?
Yes.
Yes. So Kirk could talk a lot about the kind of antiques that he likes. I have a feeling that BB guns, like the old Red Ryder BB guns, are a favorite of yours, aren't they? Yeah, you go into a store all the way in the back, there's a big, big section. I bet there's, I think you had one. You have both eyes. You haven't shot your eye out, so maybe you didn't get a BB gun, but he's got some stories that he could tell. I know that Brett Taylor likes to ride, and pardon me if I say the wrong thing, dirt bikes. Go out up in the trails, up in the mountains, and ride through the mud and the snow, and has even stepped out of his comfort zone and done some races. That's an incredible story. And how fun would that be? You know, here I am, he's got a GoPro. It makes my teeth hurt just to think about the jarring that's involved, but okay. So if he starts posting about his dirt bike riding, about his bikes, about the adventures that he has, Brett works with a lot of contractors, home builders. What kind of, okay, so we have the upper level story here, right? Likes dirt bikes. What's the deeper story there? I'm looking for something in particular. And it's not, well, he's a little risky, sure, but, you know, lots of safety equipment, right?
He's creative and willing to work out of the box for solutions.
Willing to work out of the box, yeah, I like that. Willing to do some work, because apparently it's not as easy as it looks.
Not afraid to get dirty.
Not afraid to get dirty. That's exactly what I was looking for. He is not afraid to get dirty, and it's a skill. It's kind of a manly thing, you know. That's the non-PC part. It's kind of manly, and
adventure.
He's got adventure, but it's the not afraid to get dirty because he's doing the design and managing the project. Well, he's told me that sometimes the contractors are like, oh, let me see your hands. Oh, look at those hands. You haven't, you know, you haven't swung a hammer. Well, he's not the builder. He's the guy designing it and developing it. It would help your story tremendously. I highly recommend some serious, you know, if you can get some road rash, you know, especially on your knuckles or something like that. But that's the deeper story, that if he's telling that story, builds his business, presents his business, supports his business without saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Who else? Carol Lester, who works for Boot, the business organization of Old Town Clovis. It's about fun and adventure and events and supporting a very special part of town. And so a big part of her story can be having lunch and enjoying that downtown area and promoting her members. Because what happens when you promote your members? Well, all kinds of good things happen when you promote your members. That's right. It shows their success, it promotes you. It builds them up. That's your business. This is actually a really easy one.
Okay, I have a couple of questions then. I'm not ever going to get back into a leotard. And most of my business is not local, so what do?
You tell your stories about your customers. You tell the story of your passion. You talk about your family, and your family is involved. I mean, you have so many amazing stories. Think about the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 stories that you have. LaDonna Snow of Snowflake Designs. You have the story about how you got started. That's still an incredible story. You have the story about how some of these designs have come about. You talk about your family, and that is a perfectly wonderful thing to talk about and be part of your story. What's that? Yeah, rescuing cats. You are a rescuer. You have so many stories there. Think about these, and actually I have some more ideas for you that you can use this to help yourself think about your personal stories. Is it sports? Are you into sports? Photography? Do you like to go to the beach? You like to garden? Are you funny? It's hard to be funny on Facebook, by the way. I do have a couple of friends who specialize in funny, and it's fantastic. There's a gentleman, Sharif the Sheriff, posts only 2 kinds of stories. Funny little one-liners and how much he loves his wife. Aww. It's wonderful. He could probably branch out in 1 or 2 more things, but that's still fantastic. Do you like to have fun? What are you motivated by? How about your hometown? Are you into nature? Do you love dogs? Do you travel? Oh gosh, Lois Paganini of A Perfect Vacation. Oh, it's built in. She's a travel agent. She loves to travel. So most of her posts are about traveling. Well, that's okay. It's perfect, because it's not saying, buy my stuff. It's saying, I love to travel. So think about 2 or 3 things here, 3 or 4 or 5 that works for you. I want to point out a couple here in the middle, right next to bicycles. You should post a lot about bicycles. We'll be best buddies then. Right here going up and down, it says expertise. If you're still trying to think, well, what do I post about? What is my story? What are you an expert in? Hopefully it's something that you're in business for. Lisa Lewis is an expert in hair and wigs and hair replacement and working with people who either want to enhance their natural hair or who, through chemotherapy or other ways have lost their hair. She's an expert in that. And she can talk about how to take care of your hair and what happens, when you lose your hair and what's the process like. And she can do all of that and talk about her expertise, like Frank was saying, content development. And all of that is still her story. In fact, you should find out about her story. Because don't you think that with almost every business, there's a story behind why somebody would do something like that? Take a tissue, right? Think it might touch your heart a little bit. That's her story. Your expertise can be one of your stories because you can post about it and how much you enjoy it and what you've learned new about it without selling stuff. Also right in there it says business. Again, you want to post a little bit about your business so your dad doesn't have to wait for you to write a book to go, now I know what you do. Thanks, Dad. All right. You can see by the amount of time that Frank's spent talking about story, that Ted has told you about storytelling, and that I'm telling you this is the meat of what you do. Your story. I don't mind now if you spend the rest of my presentation with your head down over your notes going, oh, this is part of my story. This is part of my story too. And if you like, afterwards, if you want to tell me something about yourself, we'll dig into your story and see how that top level story, which you think is about bicycles, is really about something else. That's what you want to think about. What do these stories mean? Because I have several other hobbies and likes and interests that I never talk about on Facebook. Because they do not support, well, it's not that they're not my brand. It's just, first of all, that you only want to tell a handful of stories. And second of all, I haven't figured out how they would quite support my brand. Or, on the other hand, I made the reference to the TARDIS earlier. I got one woohoo. There's always one. But that's not a big enough topic. It's not of wide enough interest. If I talked about that, yes, in the circles that are into that, I have a couple other friends who are into that. I'll let you know who they are, okay? It's not kind of universal enough. And I want you to think about that too when you start to think about the stories that you want to tell. How universal are they? Is it something that a lot of people can relate to? Now, the running, a lot of people cannot relate to that from the perspective of, you got to be kidding me, you get up and, go run. But everybody loves to talk about how crazy runners are, right? Which, by the way, we have actually figured out what crazy is in running. It's twice as far as you want to go. So if you don't run at all, a little bit of running is just crazy. But people love to talk about how crazy it is. So it's still kind of a universal topic. And most people can appreciate it. Think about what you do that can be appreciated, if not universally. With Lisa, hair is, I mean, for women, this is extremely important. It's part of our image, it's part of who we are. That's extremely universal. Now, for Brett, mountain bike riding or mountain motorcycle riding, you know, my mom doesn't let me ride motorcycles, so I can't relate at all. But for his audience, for his business audience, it is extremely relevant. So think about that as well. Think about that as well. Not only is it something I love, is it something I'm passionate about, does it support my business brand, and is it relevant to my audience? Now, we have started to sound a little bit like an opera singer, right? Me, 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 me. Oh, I missed a point here. One last thing. It does sound rather calculating. It's not so much calculation as it is making sure that you support your business, that you're relatable. And the final question comes to this is, how authentic is this really? Are we being calculating? Are we being disingenuous? No, absolutely not. People tell you to be authentic. And I am not telling you to be authentic. I disagree with being fully 100% authentic. Because, does anyone feel like this in the morning before they've had coffee? I have to admit, I'm pretty good in the mornings. I kind of hop up and pretty good in the mornings, but about 5:30 in the afternoon when I haven't had dinner yet, this is me. That's my authentic self at the end of the day. Oh my God. And if you're a coffee person, that's your authentic self first thing in the morning before you've had coffee. It's your authentic self. Do we need to share that? Does that support your brand? Does that help you win friends and influence people? Is it dishonest to not share that with people? No, it's not. What I remind myself and what I want you to absolutely take away is that you need to be your best authentic self. Your best authentic self. And this is where the idea of consistency is going to work for your benefit. Because if you do find yourself a little grumbly, a little whiny, you know, I will admit to that, I'll stop and think, would I put this on Facebook? No. No, I wouldn't. Then why am I even bothering to whine about it? Why am I even bothering to be upset about it? It has actually made me stop some of those whiny, not really good moments. Yeah. And it's actually made me be more positive, more cheerful. I know, like I need to be more, cheerful, you know. When I get this excited, I need to chill it down because this would be a little much. So it works both ways on that. But think about that. It is not dishonest, it's not lying, it's not manipulative to be your best authentic self. So we did talk about, don't be an opera singer. It does sound like we're saying me, 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 me. How do we avoid that? We avoid that by giving value. And Frank said it, Zig Ziglar said it, every major philosopher, every major religion has said it, that you give and you give first. And so what you want to do is use your posts, your social media tweets, your LinkedIn. You want to use all of that to give value. And so we've talked big picture about the topics, the general parts of your story that you want to post, but what specifically, right, do you post? Anybody want to know some very, very specific things to post that will build your brand that people are going to like and get you a lot of engagement? I think there's two things that are universal, first of all. that you should post about? Bacon! You should post about bacon. I joked about this a few weeks ago. We baked bacon in the oven for the first time, and I took a picture and posted it. You guys went nuts. Like, are you kidding? I posted a picture of bacon in the oven, and it got like 50 likes. So I joke a little bit, but my point in telling you about bacon, and now when you see posts about bacon, what it'll make you think about is that you post about things that they like. They being your audience, they being your clients, they being the people you want to attract. Because it's not about me, 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 what I like. It is in that other people like those things too. So now when you see bacon, remember that's cueing you to post things that they like. And while I do appreciate a good cat video every once in a while, I think the other universal thing that you should post is that not the most adorable dog you ever saw in your entire life? He's so sweet. That's my dog. Can you believe that? That is my dog. I know. He's just so cute. People love adorable puppies as well. So here's the key. When you post these things, and I will make sure that you get this slideshow because this is an excellent resource. They're calling it now the selfie syndrome. And they actually use the word narcissism in here. How social media is making us narcissistic. And they give you signs of narcissism, which are also signs of a social media program that is not working well. And I know you can't see this, so what I want to make sure, in fact, before we forget, start digging out a business card and let's pass them all into the middle and back if you would like to get a copy of my PowerPoint. And if you like, and I'm asking permission, if you do not want it, write no on the card. But I will subscribe you to my newsletter, the Networking Motivator newsletter, about once a month, some exclusive content about networking and about those activities. So if you'd like that, pass those in, and we'll try to gather them up here towards the back. And I will send you a copy of my PowerPoint, and Frank, if it's okay with you, then I'll gather those up and include yours in there. Okay? And then maybe I'll make sure Ted gets those as well. So you guys realize that you're passing these cards along and it's going to go about 3 different places. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, good. So the signs of a not working well social media program. Unilateral listening. You're talking, but you're not listening to anybody. Preoccupied with yourself. So we've talked about telling your story. And it sounds like it's all about you, but it's really about them. It's about your audience. And my next slide is going to clarify that for you. Being above the rules. What's one of the social media rules? No selly, sell, sell, sell. And if you think, well, I'm above the rules, I can post sells because my customers love me so much. They might now, but they won't after you start doing that. A couple of the others, inability to take criticism. Oh, if anybody's ever gotten in a flame war, they used to call them flame wars on alt.net, where you get the comments and it just goes on and on and on. Or refusal to take responsibility and quick to anger. So you want your social media to be positive. You do not want to just be bland, but you certainly don't want it to be the selfish, selfie self. You must share things of value. When you go to post something, here is the question to ask yourself. Does this create value? That's on the previous slide. Does this create value for someone else, or does it only make me look good? I had an interesting experience the other day. You know that if somebody posts a picture that they don't have permission to post, that you can tell Facebook, I don't want this picture up. I have 2 stories about this. You can actually request to the person who originally posted that picture that they take it down. Big Hat Days not long ago, a couple years ago, we'd posted pictures of just crowd, And we get a request from a young lady who was in a picture with a couple of other kids. There were 3 or 4 kids. They look like they're about 15, 16. And she said, can you take this picture down? And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, you know, why are you requesting that we take it down? She says, because I went to Big Hat Days and I'm not supposed to be hanging out with these kids. I took it down, but I had to give her a little lecture. I'm not a mom, but you know, every once in a while those instincts kick in, and I said, well, you know, nothing on the internet is private. Goes back to what we were talking about, right? And if you're hanging out with the kids you're not supposed to hang out with, don't get your picture taken. Be a lot more clever about it. But then just a few days ago, I had somebody request that I take down a picture that they were in because it wasn't flattering. And I'm real careful about that. I mean, if you ever look at our mixer pictures from the Clovis Chamber, I mean, nobody's got half a sandwich, you know, shoved in their mouth, which, by the way, personal branding tip number 83, eat daintily when there are lots of cameras around, okay? Chew with your mouth closed, use a napkin, all those good things. And I looked at the picture and I thought it wasn't unflattering at all. But she thought it was. And I think that when you come to this point, you are going to have to be okay with maybe some pictures that aren't perfect. I had to decide that a long time ago when I started running, because let me tell you, nobody's pretty at the end of 13 miles, especially if they're slightly heat stroked and trying to decide if they're gonna lose their last gel bar. But I had to decide, that's okay. That'll be part of my brand. So share things of value. Share the parts of your life, the parts of your perspective and your experiences that they will value because they do these things. And these are some of the things that Frank said. They entertain, they amuse them, they educate them, they might wow them, wow facts, they'll inspire them. It's one of the reasons I do post about my running, because I think anybody can be fit. I mean, my legs barely reach the ground, and yet I still run. I'll tell you a secret about that bicycle. It's about 90% the size of regular bikes. So if you see it in a lineup with other bikes, you're like, why is that bike so small? Got to pedal twice as hard, but it gets me there. You want to help people. If you distract them, promote other people like crazy. I try to do that all the time. Help people feel needed. Ask for advice on Facebook. Holy cow. People don't go to the doctor anymore, they go to Facebook. Have you ever seen anything that looks like this? You know, you. But they do like things that inform them. And they also like to be encouraged. You know, I think that if you've been through something difficult and you can share a little bit of your story, at least what you feel comfortable with, and encourage other people, absolutely. And all of these come down to helping them feel positive emotions. There's a word that's gone out of style, I'm so glad. The feels. Anybody seen somebody use that where it's a pretty touching video or picture and somebody will comment, oh, the feels. Oh. Just say, this makes me have strong feelings. And that's really what it is, having strong feelings and you providing that through the stories that you tell. So let me recap as we wrap up here. Business is personal, it's business. And in this day and age, if you're going to be here in business doing these things as an entrepreneur, you've got to be okay with it. Not only do you have to be okay with it, but you have to make it work for you. And you do that by telling a story. Pick and choose. Now you know, not just picking and choosing, but picking and choosing for very specific reasons. 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 aspects of your personal life that you would like to share and tell stories about. And finally, make sure that as you're doing that, you are giving value. I love to hear stories. I love to hear other people's stories. I've heard my stories. I want to hear your stories now. just listening to other people's stories, just hearing what they've been through, what they've done, and responding to it, and in return, encouraging them and asking them for more. That's incredibly valuable. I'm so excited how this day has turned out, and I know Yvonne's going to do a little bit of a wrap-up, but I want to thank you for being here. You've given us incredible value. I hope that you take away just, I hope you're as blown away as I have been by these concepts when I first encountered them. I want to thank you. I want to make sure that you do try to connect with each other as much as possible. Use the event on Facebook. You can see a lot of the people who are here. I know that I've got time to stay. I know Frank has as well. Ted also. So if you have questions, please ask these questions, ask them now, connect with us on Facebook, ask us later. And again, I thank you all so very, very much.
Wrap up is very quick and very simple. I know you all have busy lives. First off, another hand for Beth. By the way, I think, Beth, this is your last presentation as part of the chamber. Is that true? So it deserves a very, very big applause. Thank you for making this so special. And I believe from the responses, we all got tremendous value. Please go and visit the sponsors, the co-sponsors, like their Facebook pages, get engaged with them, thank them for participating in this event. And now we can tell Beatrice that is how it works. That's how any of it works. I hope you all received that today. Take care.